Hello, friends. Chris, Liz, and I were having a conversation about how we wanted to show up for you in this moment. What we wanted to share about our own thoughts as your executive team, and maybe what we might offer about how we're living through this moment. So, walk with us as we share a little bit about where we are for such a time as this. Liz, why don't I turn it over to you?
Sure. I want to start by sharing something that happened last night at our search and call fair for prospective clergy who want to search in SNE. And one of the questions in the long among like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Technical was, how is the soul of the conference in this time of our nation's history and challenge? And I so appreciated the conversation. Of course, my team looked at me. And I just found myself saying, in one way, our soul is deeply grounded in the love and justice of Jesus that is ours to enact, but that exists without anything we do or say, and can never, ever be swayed or battered by the actions of the world or individuals. And so we keep coming back to that as our core grounding. And we feel sometimes battered around and weary and uncertain and overwhelmed. And so I think that's a both and that is personally for my own soul. And I think for our collective soul, deeply rooted, and nothing can shake that. And our leaves are being swayed around in the storm. And that's very real.
One of the things I think is helpful in that grounding is knowing that from a very practical and institutional level, we are putting roots in. So from a conference staff perspective, the executive leadership, as well as some of our team leaders, are meeting every Thursday to reflect on what's happening in the world, what are resources we can get our churches, how can we crowdsource information we're finding, and then share that out. Another grounding for me has been meeting with our executive committee from the board of directors and talking to them about legal action that might be possible, protests that might be possible, and how will our board support the conference staff and our vision towards moving these things forward. And just knowing we work for a conference, but then exist in a conference where board and staff see a clear direction of how we want to march on the side of justice makes me feel like like we are all in this together. We're all walking together, but we're putting the resources together in a way that makes sense.
Yeah. There's so much of this that just echoes what I know from my adjacent nature to movement work and the people I've learned from all along the way. And what I'm grounded in is our faith and this long, long struggle that people have been holding up hope for a new world since before we had language of government. People have been holding up hope for a world where people are kind and gentle to each other and care for each other no matter what they believe. Since and before it was curated and pulled together in Jesus Christ. And in this moment, there's two pieces that I'm really holding about that. The first is the parable of the laborers in the vineyard. We're here, and we need you. No matter what, no matter where you have been, you are welcome to come and join with us in this holding of hope for the world through whatever storms may come. Because siblings and sisters and brothers, we know the storms are coming. We're in them. We are in them. But our work is to be in deep relationship with each other and to sustain that relationship through the work of local churches, because you all are so practiced about being in relationship across disagreement. I mean, it's true. It's true, because churches all got their stuff, but look at you, you're still going. And that's actually the tools, part of the tools that we need to carry us through, this existence and the generations of repair that will be necessary as a result of it. So I'm grounded in my faith. I'm grounded in the movement leaders who have come before, and I'm grounded in how we relay this work together. We have to.
this past Saturday, or it feels like it was 3 years ago, but this past Saturday, Liz and I are with our ACM team, and a number of staff folks are contributing to the GROW events that we're doing across each region of the conference. And one of the places where I'm finding hope in the midst of those GROW events is connecting those events in our lived reality to some of our senior team's visit to Alabama earlier this year. We met this woman, which you've heard me talk about before. Her name is Georgette. She's 88. And Georgette was talking about that when we individuate, immediately we think that we have to make the whole garment, in my own language, and that would be the whole garment of justice. But really, each of us has a thread. And if the three of us are bringing our threads together, what garment might we weave in leadership to this conference? But if our churches, where they each see themselves as having a thread, how might they collectively, almost all 600 of them, weave this garment of justice that we would otherwise have not been able to create individually or alone? And so what we talked about at those GROW events is churches are coming together to share their resources with each other, knowing that they might bring their threads, and who we are as the Southern New England Conference might weave an amazing action towards justice. I keep feeling, what is Darrell Goodwin's, and you can put the Reverend on it, you can put the Executive Conference Minister on it, but Darrell the human, what is my thread that is necessary to weave this collective garment of justice? What are the skills, talents, and resources I can uniquely bring? And I see that popping up in you, Liz, and you, Chris, collectively, and all of our staff trying to find that thread.
Yeah. It's about, in some ways, identifying the loci of control. Like, what are the few things that I have control over right now? Right now, what's in my scope? And how can I give that the best that I have with whatever capacity that's going to be? Because we all know our capacity levels are going to fluctuate as our bodies take in this nonsense.
Yeah, I think for me, identifying and working with my thread includes me being really honest about my own humanity. And as my dear colleagues know, I do not like being publicly vulnerable, and bless them for being good colleagues to me as we do this. And I think that's really valuable for all of us. So, you know, I'm personally in a phase of my life where nothing terrible is happening, but it's just the piling of life, right? House repairs, car repairs, not expected, injuries. We have high school orientation tonight. I am not prepared for that. I don't want to have to deal with that. You know, I have a lot of family and friends impacted, losing their jobs, being furloughed, their own protection in this country at physical risk. And that weighs on me. I want to be present to them. I want to be compassionate. And I feel like my compassion well is pretty dry sometimes. And so just that honesty about the things that we're all going through, and so many people I talk to, both kind of personally and professionally, facing similar things. I bet many of you have deeply difficult things happening in your own personal life. And then at least I go through well, that's so small compared to, right? This comparison thing we do. So I try to help myself step back from the judgment and just be in the compassion place for myself, for each of you, every person I'm on a screen with, every person I bump into out in public. That feels like such a basic and yet powerful spiritual practice, at least of my own right now. Because if we lose that connection to our own humanity, it just becomes about the doing, and that's not the way of Jesus. I don't think it's very effective. I don't think it's very strategic, and so that's partly what I've been sitting with and wrestling with, as I go through this.
What I also heard in what you were offering us, Liz, is there will be some part of us, because we're human, that also feels an invitation to what I might call performative justice right now. What are we going to do to put our name out there, our image out there, and I want us to think about, where is the we? Yeah. So when I think about the lawsuit, for instance, we are represented because Rhode Island Council of Churches and Massachusetts Council of Churches is doing the work. And as a conference, we support their missional work even before this moment in history. So do we also need to be suing as well? No, because our partners are doing that. Does that mean the Southern New England Conference's name is not going to show up in every article? It won't. But
and we don't have that capacity. You know,
so, yeah. Go ahead.
That's one of the strengths of being in partnership, is that we don't have the capacity to do everything the way that, it is desired to be done. We don't, Southern New England. Our programmatic infrastructure cannot sustain this. And we, all of us, do. We, all of us, are built into this web of how are we going to show up together, and how are we going to hold grace for each other in the midst of that. Because us burning out, me burning out, Darrell burning out, Liz burning out, because of this moment ain't going to serve anybody, certainly ain't going to serve Jesus.
We want to be thoughtful of the time that you've invested in hearing us sort of share, and I think each of us just is going to offer a quick closing thought for round one, and we will be back. The round for me is my invitation to two words, if you'll hear me talk about, is truth and grace. How in this season can we be honest about our hurts, about what we just don't know, when we don't have the quote capacity to move forward? How will we give each other grace when someone tells the truth? The other is when we're pressing each other to give more, yield more, produce more, and we know that that's not possible. How do we have the truth to say, not today? That doesn't mean not ever, but it might mean in the days ahead, and then we'll have that grace there. So have grace when it's needed, but also speak truth. And also when you're speaking truth, have grace. Those are going to be the gifts that I hope will curate me, but also curate some of the conference response to each other, and how I hope some of our pastors might respond to the members, and how the members might respond to their pastoral leaders, so that we can do this work together.
But, the other piece of this is that having these conversations, having the conversations that I know each one of you are having as leaders, is going to bring up all of the big feelings. And as a mother of a toddler, I am very good at big feelings right now. So, those things that, elicit us feeling out of control and deregulate where we are, when your heart starts beating faster, for me, my cheeks get bright red. I know I'm not regulated. And one way that I can get myself back to regulated is through what's called box breathing. So I'm going to offer that to you as a close, and we'll take some breaths together. And may you feel the ruach in each breath. May you feel it curled up and held in the core of your being, where God knows your inmost parts and is calling you God's own. May each pause point invite the knowing of this web of ancestors and the forebears of our faith who have carried these tenets of survival across multiple regimes in multiple areas. And may you know it as yours as well. So let's breathe. The way it's in after. So I'm gonna teach you the box breath. Liz will offer a blessing, and then we'll breathe together to end. So the box breath it's a count of 4 where you breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. So now you know how. We'll do that after a blessing.
Such a gift, Chris. Actually, my blessing is just the ticker at the bottom. Take action. The other piece that I'm holding on to is that we cannot underestimate the power of our actions. However, in the moment they may feel small. Having been in Assisi, Italy this past fall and thought through the way they protected Jewish refugees, political refugees. And sometimes people just did one little thing, but that one little thing made such a difference collectively. And so the things your church is doing right now, the ways that you are making your voice heard to your Congress representatives, the actions that you are taking, they matter and they add up. And we don't often get to see that until that long pause. So thank you for doing what you are doing, and keep doing it.
So be blessed with action, be blessed with love, and let's breathe together. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. hold it, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 2, 3, 4. Return to this when you need it, beloveds, and return to us. We are doing this together. We are in this together, and we need you.
Be to God.